Okay, so this week's lesson, guy, good night and happy Sabbath. So this week lesson we're looking at lesson number 11 entitled Living in the Land, and as I said that we are now on the book of Joshua. We are looking at lesson number 9 and we are in the book of Joshua. And tonight we are going to look at the topic living in the land. And before I do, guys, I like to just thank God. Pray and just thank God for the spirit in my life and your life that you could be here tonight. Listen, so that what you want to listen, so that what you want to say to your people, that they can understand with clarity why it's so important for us to look back and follow the examples of great leaders as they serve you. And there are examples for us in our Christian life to follow. So, Jesus, I just want to thank you. Amen. Heavenly Father. So, this week we are looking at lesson number 11, Living in the Land. And let us look at the memory text. A gentle answer turns away wrath. Let me put it over there. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stir up hunger. Proverbs 15 verses 1 from the New International Version. So a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stir up anger. So what he's saying, sometimes if when we speak gently, if we it turns away anger. But if we speak to somebody rough, they're not gonna like our tone of voice and they might take offense. So sometimes we must speak whatever it is, speak gentle, not in a harsh voice. Because when you speak gentle to somebody, no care how angry you are, and you speak gentle to the person, it turns away wrath. And but a harsh word stir up anger. So when you speak angrily, your tone of voice when you speak to somebody, they would feel offended and start to, get upset, or they might curse you, or some people might want to fight. Sometimes as the Bible says, it's good to live peaceful. And when you have the Spirit of God within you, you cannot be easily angered. Anger is something you should avoid when you are serving God. You must know to control your temper. So what this lesson is all about, we are looking at the children of Israel. Moses led them out of Egypt captivity, and they were now in the land, in the wilderness, and they were in the wilderness for 40 years. They were in the wilderness, and because of the sin that they commit when they build the golden calf and worship it, God was angry with them, and he have them wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. They were supposed to go over the promised land of Canaan. That Canaan that they were supposed to go over would take them just 7 days. 7 days it would have taken them to cross over into the Jordan. But because of their disobedience, God said that all of those people that came out, that generation that came out of Egypt, they were going to wander in the wilderness 40 years, and that generation passed. And it's only the new generation that came up that did not know that about the golden calf, or did not worship the golden calf. That was the new generation that God was gonna let go over into the promised land. So we know, so just giving you a backdrop of what the book of Joshua. So what happened? When Moses came down and Moses saw what was going on, Moses got angry. God said to Moses, "Hi, Sam. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Love to you too." So guess what? Moses got angry because the children of Israel is always murmuring. Hi, Ashan Johnson, thank you for joining. So guess what? The children of Israel, God does so much good things for them, you know. He let them cross over the Red Sea, and he provide manna for them. He provide food for them. He provide water for them. He provide even the clothes that they had on the back in the wilderness. It served them. He provides so much. But the children of Israel, as a one little thing happened, they forgot the good that God has done for them, and they began to murmur, and keep on going. Why did you take us out of? Why did you take us out of Egypt to come and let us die in the wilderness? Are there no graves in Egypt for you to take us into the wilderness to die? And they murmur. And as a leader, thank you for the like. And as a leader, Moses, was, weary of their murmuring, and lack of faith and ungratefulness. So God, they didn't have any water. And they were complaining they don't have any water. God, they didn't have any food. God provide food for them. So God told Moses, God said, speak to the rock, and water will come from the rock, and for them to drink. But Moses, because Moses was angry because of the complaint and the noise, as a leader, he got so upset with them that Moses did not speak to the rock. But Moses got an anger issue, and Moses struck the rock. Instead of speaking to the rock, he disobeyed God and he struck the rock. And because of that one sin, that sin that Moses did not get to go into the promised land. Moses died before he went into the promised land. But God showed Moses was at the top of Mount Sinai, and Moses could look in and see how the promised land is, but he did not go in. But what happened before Moses died? Moses has appointed Joshua to take over from him. Moses appointed Joshua to be the new leader that was going to lead the children of Israel into the promised land of Canaan. So after 40 years wandering, yes, thank you guys. So after 40 years wandering in the wilderness, they were now ready to go over into the promised land. But there was a Jordan River. And so as God has opened the Red Sea for the children of Israel to go into the wilderness, so God was going to open the Jordan River for them to cross. So God opened the Jordan River for them to cross over. So they crossed over the Jordan River and they were in the land. But they did not have full control of the land, guys. I just want to thank you for joining, and I just want you just listen, because there's a message behind this story. How does this story relate to us today? How does it, the story of Joshua, how does it? So I just want to thank you for joining, and thank you for the like, guys. So what happened? Moses now, so Joshua and the children of Israel crossed over the Jordan, and they were in the land. But the city of Canaan had walls, the walls of Jericho. The city of Canaan was surrounded by a tall wall called the wall of Jericho. So they could not get to possess the land. They could not get to possess Canaan. So what happened now? God said to 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 um to sorry about that, guy. God said to Joshua, this is what you're gonna do. These people, Joshua sent out spies to go and look. So Joshua sent out spies, guys, to go and look how is the city. So he sent out some spies, and the spies, he sent out 10 spies to go and spy out the city of Canaan and see how easy it is to overtake or to capture. So when Joshua sent out Caleb and 9 other men, he sent them out, and when they went out there, they came back with a report. All of the other 10 men came and said, no, we can't go into that city. There are giants there. There are giants there. We cannot manage them. But it was only Caleb out of the 11 that came back with faith and said to Joshua, yes, there are giants in the land, but the land is also full of fruits, milk, and honey. It's a prosperous land, and we can manage it. So Caleb was the only one that did not lose faith and was not afraid. And he said, yes, he said, Joshua, we can manage the land. Because Caleb remember that Moses had told them that the land of Canaan was promised to them from a long time when God promised Abraham the land, that his descendant would get the land of Canaan. So Caleb remember what Moses said. So even though there were giants in the land, Caleb was not afraid, because what God said he was gonna do, he was gonna do it, because God is that man that he should lie. So what happened? Out of the 10 spies, Caleb was the only one that came back with a positive report that yes, there is giants in the land, but we are capable through God's grace and mercy and his help, we can manage the land. So Joshua decided now that they're gonna capture the land, gonna take over the land. But God was saying to Joshua, no, you don't have to have any form of weapon. You don't need weapon to capture this land. God don't need the gun. He don't need the weapons of mass destruction that men have to take over. And when he come back, when God come back to this earth, when Jesus come back to this earth, no, the amount of weapon what Russia have, where Germany have, where America have, where Israel have, whoever have, when Jesus come back to earth, them can't overtake him. He no need them weapon of mass destruction is no match when Jesus come back to take over his earth. So God was telling Joshua, you don't need any gun, you don't need no sword, you don't need none of that to capture the Lord. I, the Lord, thy God, is with thee. I will be the commander in the army of the Lord. I will go before you in this battle. One thing that you have to do, you have a part to play. The part that you're going to play is you're going to tell all those that did not circumcise that they need to circumcise themselves. Because remember, circumcision back then was a very important thing to cleanse yourself. So all remember when the children of Israel were in the wilderness, the newborns, the ones that were born in the wilderness, the new generation, they did not circumcise. So God said, all of them have to circumcise. And he was saying that they need to, if they get back themselves right with God, build an altar of sacrifice, make a sacrifice unto me, cleanse yourself, cleanse your heart, come back to me in righteousness, and I will go before you and fight this battle. You don't need no gun. You don't need no weapon of mass destruction, because I, the Lord thy God, will go before you. I will tell you what to do. So the children of Israel, Joshua said to the children of Israel, that they need to circumcise. All the male child need to circumcise. They need to keep the Passover. Remember the commandments that God had given to Moses. Follow those commandments. If you sin, you need to get a sheep, because they were using animal sacrifice at that time. Jesus did not come as yet. So they were doing animal sacrifice. So they were supposed to go and offer sacrifice if they sin, whether they're going to carry a lamb, a sheep, or a dove, whatever, and offer sacrifice for their sin. They need to keep the Passover, and they need to circumcise. So they obey the Lord. And God instructed Joshua, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get again you're gonna go out this computer. So these are gonna go around the walls of Jericho 7 times. Because as I said, the land of Canaan had a big tall wall around it. So nobody could get into the city. So God said, this is the tragedy that you're going to use, the strategy that you're going to use. You're going to go around the walls of Jericho 7 times. All of them had trumpets. All of them that was going to go into the war, to fight this battle. They were going to go around the walls of Jericho 7 times. And when they reached the seventh, when they go on the 7 times, they're gonna blow the trumpet. So they went out, they followed God's instruction. It is good to be obedient. When we obey God, we won't go wrong. So they go around the walls of Jericho 7 times, and on the 7th time, they blow the trumpet. And guess what? You see, when they blow the trumpet, in the ears, of the Canaanites, it sounded like millions, legions of soldiers was outside the gate. When just a few selected men that Joshua select to go around the walls of Jericho, God tell them to select a few men to go around the walls of Jericho on the 7th time. On the 7th, when they went around the seventh time, they blow the trumpet. And when they blow the trumpet, it was so loud. It sounded to the Canaanites inside of the city. It sounded to the Canaanites like there were legions, millions, billions of soldiers outside, and they afraid. Because after the 7th time, when they go around the city and they blow the trumpet, the walls fell down. You ever hear the song? Around the walls of Jericho, around the walls of Jericho, the army went. 7 times without a shout, 7 times without a shout, the walls fell down. And into Jericho at last, the army went. So yes, that was the backdrop story. So when the walls fell down, the Canaanites were now afraid, and the children of Israel went in and fought, and they win the battle, and they took over the promised land that God had promised the children of God had promised Abraham that he was gonna give the land of Canaan to the children of Israel. He said to Abraham, come from out of your father's country, and I will take you to a land where you will not know. And they said that Abraham took his wife and his nephew Lot, and he went out not knowing where he was going, but he went out by faith. And God promised Abraham that he's going to make him the father of many nations. And he also promised him that his descendant would get the land of Canaan, because the land of Canaan at that time was a beautiful land, a prosperous land. Anything you plant, it blossom. The soil was good for agriculture. The land was good. It was a beautiful place. And God had promised Abraham the land of Canaan. And Abraham died, but he never get to go into that promised land. Abraham have Isaac. Isaac was told, guys, when you come on, please like, please subscribe. And thank you for your comments, guys. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for joining. So God had promised Abraham the land of Canaan. Abraham died and never get to go into that promised land. And Abraham have Isaac. Isaac remembered that his father Abraham told him that his descendant was going to get the land of Canaan. And guess what? Canaan have Isaac, and Canaan have Jacob and Esau. And this message was passed down to them that the land of Canaan belongs to them. Now, Jacob had 12 sons, which we now refer to the 12 tribe of Israel. So Isaac died also and never get to go into the promised land. So So Jacob, because it was his descendant, not Esau descendant, who got the birthright. So it was Jacob descendant that get the birthright. So it was Jacob descendant that was gonna receive the promised land. So Jacob had 12 sons. Jacob died. He did not go into the promised land, and he had 12 sons. The 12 sons, when Joseph became governor of Egypt, Joseph took his father and his brethren down to Egypt to live in the land of Canaan, to live in the land of Goshen. And the children of Israel was in Goshen there, prospering until Joseph died. So Joseph took his brethren and his father and their household to Egypt when he became governor, and they were living in Goshen. And they start to multiply. So the Joseph and his brethren start to multiply and have children. But there come a time when Joseph died. So when Joseph died, a new Pharaoh arose that did not know Joseph and did not know the good works that Joseph did. So that Pharaoh, when he saw that the children of Israel were prospering and multiplying, they were multiplying, guys. So that new Pharaoh began to, become afraid. So this nation of people will one day become more than us, and they will overtake us and take our land. So the new Pharaoh said to the midwife, anytime the Israelite women have children, they must kill the male child. They must kill the male child. But what happened? God have it that the midwives said to themselves, no, this is a cruel thing to kill the new babies. So the midwife disobeyed Pharaoh and did not kill the newborn. So Pharaoh decided now that he's gonna find another way of sending soldiers to kill the male child of the Israelite. Because remember, it's the male that get the woman pregnant. When there's no male, they cannot produce, they cannot conceive. So the new Pharaoh decided that he was gonna find an alternative, or sending soldiers to kill the male child of the children of Israel. So what happened during those times? Moses was born. So Moses and his mother decide, no, Moses and his mother, no, Moses' mother said to his sister Miriam, we can't afford for them to kill, Moses. So they took Moses, baby Moses at the time, and put Moses in a basket and put him into the river, into a little basket, into a river. But God was on Moses' side, because God had ordained Moses. God already put away a deliverer. Moses was going to be the deliverer for the children of Israel out of bondage. So God protected Moses. So when Moses' mother and sister hide him into a boat and into a little basket they make and put him into the river, there come Pharaoh's sister and her maid bathing in the river, and they saw the basket. And when the maids carried the basket to Pharaoh's sister, the princess Pharaoh's sister, he said, no, we have to take this child in the palace and grow. So Pharaoh's sister grew the little Moses, but Pharaoh's sister did not tell Pharaoh that this child was a Israelite, because if Pharaoh had known, maybe he would have ordered for little Moses to die. So it was a secret between the maids and Pharaoh's sister, and they grew. So Pharaoh might think that this is his sister's child. So Moses grew up into the palace. He grew up into the palace with Pharaoh and Ramsey, because Ramsey was Pharaoh's son. And they grow together. But what happened? God was grooming Moses into the palace. And so what happened with Moses now? Moses, as he grew up, he realized that the people that he grew up in the palace was not his real family. His family was the slaves. And one day he was out there doing his duty. And when he was there doing his duty, he he killed. There was a Egyptian was beating a Egyptian. One of the taskmasters was beating one of the servant, one of the slave, beating him, and Moses decided to kill the Egyptian. And that was to kill an Egyptian. It was prison work. So when he killed the Egyptian, that is why Moses now have to run out of Pharaoh's palace and run into the wilderness. Moses run into the wilderness. That is where God was gonna train Moses now. So Moses went into the land of where he met his wife. I think it was that land. Um, I think I don't remember if it is the land of Moab, but he run far away, and Moses, dear Moses, met his wife Zipporah, and Moses had two sons with his wife. After Moses had his two sons with his wife, God was ready to train Moses and say, Moses, you need to go back to Egypt and tell Pharaoh to let my people go. Moses said, me, you see, I had to run out of Egypt. If I go back there, they're gonna kill me because I commit an offense there. God is saying to Moses, go. Moses did not want to go. Moses find all of excuse. Moses said, Lord, I cannot go back there, because Moses was afraid, because Moses was saying, this is too much a task for me. I can't manage this task. So Moses was very fearful. So Moses find all kind of excuse. Moses said, Lord, I cannot go back there, because if I go back there, fear is gonna kill me. He said, go, Moses, go. He said, no, I can't go, because I can't speak, because I can't speak fluently. So Moses, some people believe that Moses had maybe have been stummer, maybe he was stummer. So he said his speech, or maybe some people believe Moses had a speech impediment. So he did not think he could express himself. So Moses found all kind of excuse. And God said, Moses, go. And God said, all right, I will let your Aaron, your brother, go with you. So Aaron will be your mouth speaker. Aaron will speak for you. Moses, God, I can't go. Is this you? And God said, yes, it is me. If it is you, show me a sign. God said, tell Moses. When he looked, Moses saw burning, bro. He saw like a bush of, fire burning and a bush. But when he went up, the fire was around the bush, but the bush wasn't burning. And God said to Moses, take off your shoes. The place that you stand is holy. So God showed Moses time and time that he is. So that is how Moses went down. And with all the miracles, all the plagues that came upon Egypt that God put down, when Pharaoh resists hard in his heart, until when he finally decided to let the children of Israel go. So after the children of Israel, went come out of Egypt, they went into the wilderness. And while Moses was up in the mountain getting the commandments, the 10 commandments and tables of stone. God write the 10 commandments with his fingers and tables of stone and give Moses to give the people. When Moses come down, he find the people thought that Moses died in the mountain, and because they used to worship in idols in Egypt, they now build a golden calf, and they start to worship the golden calf. And Moses was very angry. He was very angry, and he threw down the table of with the commandments, the table of stone with the commandments. And he had to go back into the mountain again, into the for God to write over the 10 commandments for him. So because of that sin, the children of worshiping, idol worshiping, did you know that one of the greatest sin back then in Egypt was worshiping idol? Worshiping, that was an offense to God. That worshiping idol was like, you say, people that were go into magic and all of those wicked things that we hear that people do. those cultish behavior. We, idol worship was like witchcraft. It was like selling a soul. It was like those things that people participate in this time to get riches, those cultish ways. So worshiping idols was so bad for God that he said that all those the generation you're gonna go stay into this wilderness for 40 years, and when and you after 40 years they those generation when they died, the new generation that was born in the wilderness, those were the ones that did not commit the sin. Those were the ones that were gonna go into the promised land. So those were the ones that went with Joshua, because Moses died. Joshua take over as the new leader, and Joshua led them into the wilderness, into the promised land. And so, what I'm saying to you, God keep His promise. God keep His promise. God is not man that He should lie. He is not a liar. What he said he's gonna do. He said, I honor my words above my name. When I send out a word, it will never return unto me void, but it must accomplish what I said. So if God promised Abraham from so long that he was gonna give his descendant the promised land of Canaan, Abraham died, Isaac died, Jacob and Esau died. The children of Israel, they died in the wilderness. The children of Israel went into Egypt for 400 and odd years into slavery. They were there for 400. So I can imagine those generation, the children, Joseph and his brothers died. And the generation that was born of them into Egypt, those are the generation that went over the promised land. Because remember, guys, remember, as I said before, Joseph took his father and his brethren and his household into Egypt. And they spent 400 and odd years in Egypt. So that means the father would have died, Joseph would have died, his brethren would have died. It's only the generation, guys, that was born in Egypt, for those generation that would cross over. And they cross over and they commit a sin and spend 40 years in the wilderness. After 40 years in the wilderness, those children that was born, they were the ones that inherit the Canaan. So what I'm saying, just as God make a promise, He make a promise that He's coming back to this earth. He made a promise that He's coming back, no care how long. Some people say, from I was Bob, from my great grandmother was alive. I've been hearing that Jesus is coming back, and all know He not come back. Look how long it took the children of Israel to get the promised land, but they eventually get the promised land. So if Jesus is coming back to this earth, no care how long it take, He's gonna come back. Might be the reason why He delay He's coming, because He's waiting for enough of us that have not given our life to Him to give our life to Him. So maybe that is why He delay. He's delayed. He's coming so that many more souls can come to Him. So we have to trust God's word. We have to trust His word. So what this story is saying, what this lesson is saying, so what happened with this lesson now? When Joshua, when they went into the promised land, they get the promised land now. The land was divided among the tribes. The land was divided among the tribes. And listen, guys, let me read. This week, we will study Joshua chapter 22, and a challenge that rose from a great misunderstanding among the people. At the beginning of the book, Joshua commanded some tribes to cross the Jordan and participate in a conquest. along with the tribes on the west side of the Jordan. That is in Joshua chapter 1, verses 12 to 18. Now that the task is accomplished, they are free to return. However, at the east side of the Jordan, they built an altar that raises concern among the West Jordan tribes. So the East Jordan tribe and the West Jordan tribe have a problem, a misunderstanding. Why is it dangerous to jump to harsh conclusion? So the West side was accusing the east side of the west side, the tribes that were on the Jordan side was accusing the tribes that were on the west side. Why did they build an altar there? When the conquest, when it was accomplished, they were supposed to go back. Why they were complaining? They were cussing and fighting over land. Just like in today's time, people will fight over property, fight over land. Brothers and sisters are killing one another for land. Mothers, fathers they are killing one another to take over land. The worst thing you can have is families, siblings complaining about land. Fighting, they will kill one another. They will malice and not talk to one another for years over property. So this was what was happening with the children of Israel. The west, the tribes on the west was having a problem with the tribes on the east over land. Why is it dangerous to jump to a harsh conclusion about the behavior of others? How can we foster unity in the church? This is the same thing in the church. We're not fighting over land, but sometimes we fight over position. Who should get who should be the leader of the choir? Who should be the leader of the men's group? Who should be the leader of the female, the women's group? Who should be play the piano? Who should play the drum? Who should be the choir director? Who? So even in church, we fight and we vex if we don't get position in church, and we malice one another if we don't get any position in church. But just as then, they were fighting over land and property. So why is it dangerous to jump to a harsh conclusion about the behavior of others? How can we foster unity in the church? Why is it important to keep in mind the larger scope of our calling and not to get caught up in distraction? These are some of the questions we are going to deal with in this week's lesson. Commitment. Joshua affirms that the tribes from the other side of the Jordan have fully satisfied the obligation set out by Moses and himself, which meant a significant dedication to and the sacrifice on behalf of Israel. Common cause. They fought alongside their brothers for many days. They fought to accomplish the promised land. They fought amongst their brothers for many days, which in reality meant about 6 to 7 years compared to Joshua 11:18. Their wives and their children were left at home on the east side of the Jordan, yet they decided to fight loyally along with their brothers, facing the threat of injured death in war. So what is happening here? Let us further find out what is really happening with them. Let us find out. All right. These verses indirectly underline the importance of the unity of the nation and that of the land. They also prepare the way for the ensuing story, which is ultimately about unity. While the Israelite tribes stay united despite the strong natural borders that the Jordan forms between them? Will they allow geography to set its mark on their national identity? Or will they left their common worship of the holy God, of the only God, keep them at his chosen nation? So what is happening here? They're saying that these men, they went and they fight. These soldiers, they went around the walls of Jericho. They fought in the battle. They left their wife, and for many years they have been fighting so that they could get the promised land. They left their wife and children just to, just like a soldier would left his wife and children go to fight the war. They left their wife and children to fight the war so that the whole nation of Israel can win the battle, so that the whole nation of Israel can accomplish the land of Canaan. They went and fight the battle so for the common good of the nation of Israel. Just like how soldiers will go out and fight the war. So they go out and fight the war, and when they come and fight the war, so that that country won't get attacked. So they win the battle. So when they win the battle and those soldiers come home, they are supposed to get the best. They're supposed to be rewarded with houses, and the government supposed to reward for the hard work. They sacrificed their life. They could have died. They sacrificed their life. They left their families, their wife and children for years and months not seeing them, to go fight in a war that they don't know if they're gonna come back. So when they come back and they're not dead and they come back alive, they're supposed to be rewarded with anything good. But then you have other of the other tribes, other people in the nation start to complain about land and why they are getting this and why they are getting that, not knowing that they went out and fight for the benefit of the nation. It's just like we know in the church, everything that we do, whether we have a choir leader, a women's minister, in the women's ministry, we have a leader, the men's ministry have a leader, we have a choir director. It is all for the benefit of the church. It is all for the benefit of everyone to enjoy, to unite. So what this passage is saying, when they were living in the land, after God promised the land and they get into the land, now they start to build fuss. They start to fight and to complain about who should get this and who should get that. So they complain and the murmurs start again. Accusations. The story of the returning tribe in Joshua. What accusation do the West Jordan tribe level against the East Jordan tribe? To what extent were these accusations well founded? Let's find out. In contrast with verse 1, where the tribes on the east side are called by their usual form, so the Reubenites, Reuben and the Gadites. So you know that Reuben and Gad was one of the they were two of the tribes, were the two children of Jacob. So Reuben was a son of Jacob and Gad was a son of Jacob. So Reuben descendant is called Reubenites, and God's descendant is called Gadites. So the Reubenites and the Gadites were living on the east side. Here, a different expression is used. Sons of Reuben are sons of God, and the half tribe of Manasseh. So there was a half side of Manasseh, which is in contrast to the sons of Israel, thus representing a different entity. In the narrative, the expression "the whole congregation of Israel" refers only to the 9. Wow, guys, Listen carefully. So, listen now. In the narrative, the expression of the whole congregation of Israel refers only to the 9.5 West Jordan tribes. So Israel refers to the 9.5, because remember, when Moses, when Jacob, when Joseph died, Joseph had two sons, Manasseh and well, and the two sons of Joseph. So when Joseph died, the two sons of Joseph, no, so they would represent Joseph. Those are Joseph's children. So those the two sons of Joseph, their descendant eventually might become one tribe, because I'm seeing that they only talk about Manasseh. I don't know about the other son of Joseph. But guys, so Israel, listen, when you talk about Israel, Israel is only referring to the 9.5 tribe. The Israelites, when they talk about Israelites, then they will only talk about, remember, there were 12 tribes, but nine and a half of the tribe, and because what they said, Moses, when Joseph died, his two son, God, you see, God, that was cut off, that tribe of Israel, that one of the tribe of Jacob was cut off, the Gadites. And when he was cut off, so the Joseph's two children now they were engrafted into the 12 tribes, so make up the 12 tribes. So what happened is that Israel only refers, listen guys, Israel only refers to the 12 and the 9.5 tribes, because remember, they were the Benjamites, the the Levi, and Judah were another known as um the Jews, were known as the Jews. So listen, so the whole congregation of Israel refers only to the 9.5 West Jordan tribes, underlining the rift that developed between the two groups. Indeed, the underlying question of the ensuing story is whether the tribes on the east side of the river can be seen as Israelites. Wow. We would expect a smooth conclusion to the story. However, tension arises. Guys, tension arises as the tribes from the east are reported to have erected an altar at the Jordan. The text here does not offer any reason for the act, nor does it describe the function of the altar or specific activity related to it. The ambiguity concerning the meaning of this altar is increased even more if we observe the flashback to the first crossing of the Jordan in chapter 3 and 4, where all Israel entered the edge of the Jordan to cross the river into mainland Canaan. Here a part of Israel comes to the region of Jordan, but now to cross the river in the opposite direction. In both cases, a structure of stones is erected. The first serves as a memorial, while the second is perceived to be an impressive altar. The question that inevitable comes to us to mind is, what do these stones mean? Compare with Joshua 4 at verses 6 and 22. Is this altar built for sacrifice, or is it only a memorial? Are these other tribes already starting to fall into apostasy? Are these other are the Reubenites and the Gadites that built this altar? What was this altar for? Was it a memorial, or it was is or is it to offer sacrifice? What was so the tribes on the west want to know what the tribe on the east, why they build this, the Gadites and the Reubenites build the altar for? Lack of consultation with Joshua, Eleazar, or the tribal leader, creates room for misunderstanding that potentially can lead to terrible conflict. Haunted by the past. Again, but how, in the light of Numbers 25, why do the Israelites choose Phinehas as the head of the delegation to the 2.5 tribes? So, guys, what we are saying is that there were tension between the tribes of Israel on the east side of the Jordan and the west side. The east side of the Jordan, you have the Gadites and the Reubenites. On the west side of the Jordan, you have the other 9.5 tribes. So there were tension now where where the 9.5 tribes on the west, which is called Israel, was wondering if they could call they should include the Reubenites and the Gadites into to be a part of them. But why did they not want them to be a part of it? Is it that the Gadites and the Reubenites were going into idol worshipping, so they did not want them to be a part of Israel? Let us find out. Guys, this time is hot. I am hot. Before giving up credit to the rumors of what might be perceived as a declaration of independence, the 9.5 tribes, labeled twice as the Sons of Israel, sent a delegation to clarify the intent and the meaning of the altar. The delegation consisted of Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the high priest, who would succeed Eleazar after his death. Phinehas already has gained some visibility as the priest who put an end to the decadency of Israel at Baal. Now when Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose from among the congregation and took a javelin in his hand. And he went after the man of Israel into the intent and thrust both of them through the man of Israel. Wow. And the woman through her body. So the plague was stopped among the children of Israel. Oh my God. Phinehas surely had some influence. The other emirs were representatives of the 9.5 tribes of the west of Jordan, each being the head of a tribal family, head of his father's house within the clan of Israel. The delegation opens the indictment of sacrilege and rebellion with the official prophetic formula. Thus said The distinction here is that it is not the Lord speaking, but the whole congregation of the Lord. They launch the accusation. Oh my God! They launch. They accuse that Israel committed trespass, treachery, and rebellion. The term trespass is the same Hebrew word that was used to describe Achan's sin and appears several times in the first 5 books of Moses. For example, the examples of Achan and Baal serve as predecessent, one for treachery and the other for rebellion. They also express the fear of the 9.5 tribes that the act of building an unauthorized altar would lead to apostasy, idolatry, and immorality, which will incur the wrath of the Lord upon the entire nation of Israel. Okay. The answer of the accused as straightforward and powerful as the accusation constituted both thematically and structurally the heart of the chapter. So far, the tribes have not replied to the accusation, but instead have quietly listened to the allegation against them. Given the seriousness of the charges, their patience is exemplary as they display the true meaning of the proverb: a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word sets up anger. The opening sentence of the defense is a string of divine names attributed to Israel: God, Eli, Elohim, Yahweh. It is repeated twice with a groaning force as it becomes a solemn oath in order to dispel the doubts and false accusation that almost led to a civil war in Israel. They are strongly convinced that God fully knows and understands the situation, and they hope that the present dedication will arrive arrive at the same conclusion. The 2.5 tribes also recognize their accountability before the Lord by calling him to take vengeance if they are indeed guilty. A surprising revelation follows, which on the one hand proves the basic of the indictment void. An altar cannot serve only as a place of sacrifice, and on the other hand discloses their true motivation: fear of separation from Israel rather than apostasy was the true grounds for their action. Thus, the building of the altar is not evidence of apostasy, as had been supposed. Actually, the contrary is true. They have acted out of fear of the Lord, just as the Western tribe did. The true basis of Israel's unity is not geographically or physically extent of the inheritance, but their spiritual alliance to the recruitment of the Lord. The genuine concern of the tribes on the west of the river also is revealed in their authentic joy, as the innocence of the tribes on the east is ascertained. Instead of feeling defeated by the arguments of their brothers, they show sincere happiness that their suspicion turned out to be wrong. Civil war in Israel was avoided and the unity of the nation preserved. So what am I reading here, guys? Is that there and there the and the Jordan, the west side of the Jordan, no, on the east side of the Jordan, let me see. On the side of the Jordan, there were 2.5 tribes. On the west side of the Jordan, there were 9.5 tribes. So the west side of the Jordan was known as Israel, but they were wondering if they were because the west side was so the east side was so far away. They were wondering if they should incorporate the east side as to be Israel also. So what happened when the east side, the 2.5 tribe, realized that the 2.5 tribe and the east realized that the 9.5 side tribes and the west were planning not to incorporate them into, to be Israel, to be known as Israel. They were afraid that they were gonna be cut off from Israel, from their brethren. So they built an altar, to God, that, build an altar to pray and maybe to ask God that they don't want to be cut off from, the nation. They don't want to be cut off as a family. They want, to be known as Israel too. So they built an altar for that reason. Now, when the West 9.5 tribe and the West realized that there was an altar was built, they were saying, why would they build an altar? You build an altar for what? Is it a memorial? Is it a sacrifice? And if it's a memorial, all of the tribes need to come together. And if it's a sacrifice, all of the tribes need to come together. Why would you two, those 2.5 tribes, just build an altar for themselves? Are they going into apostasy? Are they worshiping idols? So the west side accuse the the east side of committing apostasy. So they were very angry, and the priest, a leader of the west side, came over to the east side, and there were bloodshed took place because the 9.5 tribe on the west side of the Jordan accused the 2.5 tribe on the east side of the Jordan that they were committing apostasy. Because why would they build an altar? You build an altar as a memorial where all the tribes come together. You build an altar if there's a sacrifice and all the tribes come together. So why would those 2.5 tribes just build an altar for themselves? So they were accused of committing apostasy. And they did not go and find out from the east side why the east side, those on the east side of the Jordan, why they just come to a conclusion. And that could have caused disunity. So when they come together and, and through Joshua, they realized that it was not apostasy they were committing. They were in fear that they were going to be cut off from the rest of the tribes because they were on the east and they were on the west. So they went to build an altar inquiring of the Lord for the Lord to come on their behalf. So when the west side realized that was so, they were happy. Because what the west side thought that the east side were building an altar and they were committing adultery. They remember what Achan did. Back then with Achan, when Achan went to war and he took up the gold and the silver of the Gentiles and carried into the camp. And when Achan carried that, they remember what Achan did, and it bring destruction upon Israel. And God had to, they had killed Achan and his family. So, and they lose the battle because of Achan's sin. So when the west side realized see them build an altar those on the east side, they were saying, I wonder if it's the same thing that Achan did, that those on the west are doing to bring destruction upon the nation. So they took it into themselves to go and to kill. But when they realized that it was not idol worshiping or apostrophe. They realized that the west east side, the 2.5 tribe and the east, were just seeking God for help, so that they weren't separated from the other 9.5 tribes on the west. So because of that, the west side said, oh, they felt good because at least it was not something that gonna bring destruction upon the nation of Israel. So the two tribes, the 9.5 tribes on the west and the 2.5 tribes on the east of the Jordan, they come together and unite. So it is in the church. The Israelite, the story of the Israelite, does it fit into the church today? How does it fit into the church? In the church, we have this unity. We are not united in the church. We are, because we don't get position in the church. We vex and we gossip and we chat and we tell lies and we scandal. We say all manner of things because of position in the church. You might be in the church and you see somebody do something. Before you find out what they ask the person, why did you do this? You accuse the person of doing something and you don't find out what is the cause. You spread rumors in the church about the person. You spread rumors about the person and cause that person to leave the church. If you had gone and find out from that member, what is it? Why did you do that? Maybe you would have found out that what you are accusing the person of is not what caused them to do that. So sometime before we accuse others of doing something, we need to go and find out what is it, what caused you to react this way. I am guilty of it, and we are guilty of it. Before we accuse anybody, we need to find out. Before we go and commit and stop talking to the person, before we go and we stop talking to the person, or we might not we malice the person, we vex with the person, we hate the person because somebody tell you something and you see something and you don't understand it. Go and find out. As Christians, the Bible says we must not judge. We must not judge lest we be judged. And so when if it is what we're thinking, then so be it. If it's not what we're thinking, we would have saved ourselves from committing sin, because when we judge somebody wrongfully, we are committing sin. So guys, the bottom line of the story is that there were in the land, when they were living in the land, the children of Israel had problem with each other. The tribes them had problem with each other. They were accusing, one side was accusing the other side of committing apostasy, while the other side that were accused of committing apostasy was just maybe in fear and believe that the other side was going to cut them off from being a nation. So they built the altar. So there was a misunderstanding. And if they had come together and the two sides come together and sort it out as family, even in our own family, we have it in the church family, we have it in our own family. Instead of accusing your family, accusing somebody, why did you do this? Find out from the person Why did you do this? Before you malice the person, before you vex with the person, before you hear the person, and you accuse the person wrongfully, you judge the person wrongfully. As Christians, we must not learn to, judge people wrongfully. We must not be, you know, malicing others, not talking to others. As Christian, we cannot be that way. Jesus himself said that, judge not unless you will be judged. So before you judge, find out the situation first. Find out why this is so. Don't take what somebody tell you and run with it, because the person might be telling a lie and you follow that person, you believe that person. Find out for yourself. Judge not, lest you will be judged. Forgive, and you shall be forgiven. And so a common misunderstanding of not come of not finding out why the tribes on the east side were building an altar. Instead of finding out why, they want to go over there and they want to kill whoever built the altar and commit bloodshed. Innocent life were lost. So guys, I just wanted to say, this is I'm gonna be in this live now. I just want to thank Ashan Johnson, yes, for coming. Sam Jim Boss 8940. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for the 2 likes. I just want to say thanks for all who have joined. And I'm gonna end the live now, guys. Let me see, what time is it? 10:32 or 1 something. So guys, bye bye. Take care. Have yourself a wonderful weekend. Safe and wonderful weekend. If you are going to church tomorrow, happy Sabbath. If you go to church on Sunday, wherever you go to church, just continue to praise the Lord and to thank Him for His many blessings upon our life, and ask Him to come into your heart if you have not given your life to God. Just want to say bye. And guys, tomorrow I'm gonna be at church, and I'm gonna do a live at church. So you're gonna see me between the hours of 11 p.m. to 12. I'm gonna do a live at church. So see you then, guys. Bye bye.